Unfortunately, most young men think life starts at 25 years old. They've gone to college or university, they got out of school, now they're working, they've been partying, and after about a couple years of working and just doing the same thing, that's when it hits them. This is the rest of their life. And then they think, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Did I do anything? Did I do this, that? Who am I going to be? But the truth is, by 25, you've already decided who you're going to be because it's based off of your habits. In life, there's two men. While the habits build you to be who you are, you have a man who waits for motivation. He waits for his distractions. He waits for his lust and emotional reactions to just magically disappear one day. And then all of a sudden, he'll become the man he wants. That's not how it works, though. So you have the second man. He builds his identity early based off of his habits. He becomes the man he wants to become through building a rigorous routine. He has purpose, he has standards and discipline. So one man becomes a leader, but the other one becomes lost. But the difference is in the mindset you build now. Howdy, my name is Nolan T. Painter. I'm an aspiring young man with aspirations greater than anyone will ever understand. And in today's video, I want to talk about the mindset shift that every young man needs to hear before 25. Now, it's important to understand that it doesn't matter what age you are as a man, you need to have this mindset shift at some point. Some kids grow up learning it because their parents taught them this. But the truth is that in society, the reason why good men are so favored is because we're far and few in between. So if we're not learning it growing up from our parents, because obviously they're not teaching us this, where do we learn it? Well, as I did, we learned it from other men. We learned it from men who've already gone through these things. I'm privileged to be such a young man, and I've learned all these beautiful things from other people who are much more older and much more experienced than I am. I've seen people become millionaires. I've seen people become husbands in front of me. I know it's possible, and I know it's possible through your identity, which is built through your habits. And now I'm teaching you. But it doesn't matter how old you are, right? Whether you're 18, 16, 13, 11, 25, 30, 40, 50, it doesn't matter how old you are. Because at the end of the day, as long as you're starting now, as soon as you understand it, you're starting earlier than how you could have been before. And what I'm saying by that is, in life, there's three types of men. There's the man who does nothing. There's the man who learns something and does nothing. And then the man who's learns something and then does something with that knowledge. So most of the society, most of the people on this planet, they don't learn anything. Then you have a couple men who learn something, but they don't do anything. And then you have even lesser men, like barely anything, a negligible amount of men on this planet, who learn these things and actually do something. Because a lot of us can learn how to become a millionaire, but only a few of us are actually going to do the steps to become a millionaire. So it doesn't matter how old you are, cool, you learn these things, but you got to actually do these things. And that comes through your identity shift. So young men are going to chase moments, but strong men are going to build their identity. And what is your identity? Well, your identity is based on your habits. But before that, you need to understand the average young man bases his life on his moods. So if he's thinking good and he's all happy and whatnot, he'll work. But if he's not thinking good and he's all sad and whatnot, he's going to quit. Think about if you have a young guy who joins a soccer league. If he does well, he's going to love it and he's going to stay in it. But if he does bad, he's going to quit. The thing is, we have to shift from this emotion-centered identity to like a purpose-driven identity. Or essentially just stop relying on your emotions and focus on your identity and who you want to become. An identity is built by what you repeatedly choose to do when no one's watching. So a good man is going to be a man who's going to go into the soccer league, and it doesn't matter if he's doing horrible or not, he's going to work hard. And his identity will be one of a man who works incredibly hard and will be incredibly successful because that's what he chose to do. Think about it this way. If you see a millionaire, did he all of a sudden get all of his habits as soon as he made $1 million? No, he was working on being a millionaire before he made any money at all. Just because you achieve something doesn't mean that's when you all of a sudden get the habits to manage it. A millionaire knew how to handle funds well before making $1 million, because if you don't know how to handle funds, you're not going to make the money. And likewise in relationships, if you want to be a loyal man for your future wife, the loyalty starts before you even meet her. And if you want to be a grounded leader, your groundedness is built when you're all alone, not when people need you. So the real question is, who am I becoming, not how do I feel today? And that's essential if you want to focus on your future identity as a man, regardless of how old you are. But it's essential we learn this as young as possible, because that gives us more time. And wouldn't it be nice if we got into these things younger? Not only we would have been doing them longer, but we would have been actually enjoying our younger years. Instead of going out and partying and doing nonsense, we would have been working. We could have been married. We could have been millionaires. That sounds like an amazing life to enjoy young. And it is possible. It's just demanding, and it's a lot of work. So in this, we need to move our pain. We need a bit of a pain shift. So young men think struggle is a sign that something's wrong, right? They see that they're in their soccer league, they see that they're not doing good, and they think, okay, something's wrong. But the truth is, struggle is evidence that you're doing something meaningful. So the good man sees that he's far behind in his soccer league or he's failing in class, and he sees, I gotta work harder. This is where my identity becomes a man of hard work, because I'm given this beautiful opportunity to work hard. Nevertheless, if you're climbing a mountain, when you reach the peak, the view is nice, but to get there, you had to climb each step, right? And who knows, you might not even have steps. You're just climbing out in the wilderness. So you have to put your foot down each step to get up to the mountain. And it's that work that's necessary to have the goal at the end. And people who do that, they're not going to say, oh, this hurts to climb the mountain. Why do we climb mountains? No, we say, pain is part of the journey. No pain, no gain type of deal. You don't go to the gym and complain, my muscles hurt. You go, yeah, my muscles hurt. I got a good pump. So you get what I'm saying? It's the exact same logic for anything else in life. Right? And your pain tolerance becomes your superpower. Imagine you went through the worst pain imaginable. Like, just pause for a moment and think, what is the worst pain I could possibly go through? Right? Now, if you went through that pain right now, okay, it would suck. But if you just shrugged it off, imagine how easy it would be to go to class every day. Imagine how easy it would be to get up early in the morning and go to the gym. Imagine how easy it would be to go to that girl and talk to her and ask her out. Imagine how easy it would be to just be a good man. So I'm not saying go to the nearest horrible torture center and torture yourself, but I'm saying you need to be tolerable towards pain. So in this, you find grace, because you don't need to be tortured to find tolerance. Just get up early and put that pain on yourself, and then tolerate just doing the work. You're not torturing yourself horribly, so you're not getting scarred, right? And you learn in a meaningful way that is actually applicable in life. There's a bit of a grace towards not having these horrible stories being the reason why you're a strong and successful man. Because the horrible stories, they, catalyze you and you want to work harder, but they're horrible. So be grateful for having not such a horrible life, or not being born in this, difficulty. But you can still find motivation in the mediocrity, because being in a life of mediocrity allows you to find motivation and drive in having such a mediocre life. I look at myself and I say, I didn't go through these horrible events. I went through a couple difficulties, but I wasn't tortured. So in that, I find a lot of mediocrity, and I can say, well, my life was pretty mediocre. That sucks. I have nothing to motivate myself, and I'll use that to motivate myself. And through that, I'll find tolerance, and tolerance will allow me to just do without it sucking. Because that's the thing. People are so concerned about building habits, but the hardest part about habits is just starting them. When a millionaire or an Olympic swimmer or whoever it may be is doing all the things they need to do, think of a long distance Olympic runner. When they go for a run every morning, that's not I have to go for a run. It's just a part of their life. If you've been going to the gym every day for 10 years, do you think you're going to struggle to get up in the morning and go lift some weights? No, because it's just a part of your life. That's just how it works. A teacher doesn't dread going to school because that's just a part of their life. So you need to realize these habits aren't grueling because you just built a tolerance to them, because that tolerance is found just it becoming a normal part of your life. It's normal, it's easy. So find grace in that, right? It's not hard. That's why I respect the lower man, because he always has a lot more to do before getting even anywhere near the man who's once got used to his dedication, once got used to all of his habits. But nevertheless, pain tolerance is your superpower, because, you're training when you're tired, you're studying when you're drained, and you're working when you're overwhelmed, compared to the man who gave up before even starting. You're doing work when everyone else would even freak out to the idea of doing work, and would tap out to the even, just listening to the concept of working when you're tired. But you're actually doing it because you've built that tolerance. And a good woman, a beautiful woman, if you so desire to be with one, she'll see a man in a relationship, and she'll see a man and how he faces adversity all the damn time. And she'll feel safer with a man who doesn't collapse emotionally under pressure. Women are beautiful, and they are amazing at picking up on these things, and social cues, and adversity, and the way you are faced with different challenges and how it affects her safety. And she'll stay with a man who does not collapse and actually becomes stronger in these moments. But if you can survive your storms, right? As I say, a man must be a pole rooted in the center of the world, and he must stick out the ocean. He'll be hit by storms, giant waves, clouds of thunder with rain, and of course lightning strikes. But if you can survive all of that, you can of course guide your woman through whatever she's dealing with. And if you're not interested in a woman, You can guide your brothers. You can guide your parents. You can help anyone you want. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And I apologize, I keep on bugging my nose, but I came back from a workout, so I'm a little sweaty, and I got a bit of like an allergy thing going on, so my nose is very itchy. But I guess that's my storm I'm going through, is trying my best not to rub my nose while recording videos. But of course, in all this work, there's a responsibility shift. Because yeah, we gotta build an identity. It's cool to say that. It's cool to say, Nolan, I wanna be a millionaire. Or Nolan, I wanna get a girlfriend and then make her my wife. Nolan, I wanna go to church every week. Nolan, I wanna do this. But it comes with responsibilities, right? And society loves taking away responsibilities, right? They want you to sit on your phones all day. They want to make it easy for you. I mean, hell, think of abortion. That's like the biggest, reason for taking away responsibility that people don't even acknowledge. And it might sound like a crazy, a hot take, but, if you think about it, the biggest reason why, like the 95%, the reason why people push for abortion is because women don't have to care about being mothers and taking care of the baby, and it allows deadbeat dads to just leave and say, oh, you'll just get an abortion. So men don't have to worry about the consequences for their actions, and neither do women. Yes, it has a time and a place, but 99% of the time, it's for people who want to avoid responsibilities, and it's masked as healthcare. So if something that is as sacred as healthcare is taking away your responsibilities as an individual, look at everything else and how it's impacting you regarding your responsibilities. And in this, you'll realize most men chase validation. They chase such things that take away from their responsibility. They want to be told that everything is good, even when it isn't. They want to be told, yeah, you'll be a millionaire one day, but they don't want to actually do the work, right? They want their parents' approval. They want their friends' approval. They want girls' approval. They want strangers online giving them approval. Hell, I even want that a little bit, and I appreciate it. But it doesn't matter how many people leave nice comments. If I don't make a video every day, this isn't going nowhere. Right? So that's where the mindset shift begins. You got to become responsible for your direction. So you stop becoming an echo for everyone else and you start becoming the voice. And your responsibilities will look like setting boundaries for yourself, healthy ones, pushing yourself away from all the bad things and setting goals to achieve in the future. You're not going to do this, and you will absolutely do this. And be honest to your word. Give value to your promises. Keep your word to yourself and have standards before relationships. I understand people change and we need to be gracious with others as we are gracious with ourselves. But you should make the right choices, because why would you want to step down to someone who is not necessarily beneath you, because we're all equal of value and made in the image of God, but why would you want to step down to someone who is going to hurt you and take away your progress? Not that progress is the point of life, but that to know there is someone who is willing to support you out there and there is someone who is worth working for. I found that person, and my boundary is that I can't talk to any other woman. I don't care who she is, what she looks like, what she's doing, doesn't matter. I found someone who I care for, I love back home, and whether she knows it or not, I'm going to put in all the work I can to work for her. And that's my goal, that's what's necessary, and that's my responsibility. She can tell me, oh no, Nolan, you're attending school, you can do whatever you want, you can go to parties, you can drink, you don't have to tell me anything, Nolan. And I'm saying, no, it's my responsibility. This is what I hold myself accountable for. And likewise, even though I don't need to do this, neither do you. But you can hold yourself to that level of accountability. That's the power you have as a man with free will. You can choose to do the things you don't want to do and become the man you want to be. And of course, it does make you a strong partner if that's what you're interested in. But in this all, we need to shift our environments. And people really like to neglect their environments, but an environment is probably the largest factor for people's production and their abilities. Right? If you're stuck in a horrible environment, you're probably going to become pretty crummy. If your parents aren't good, if your family's bad, if your friends are bad, if you're going to bad school, this and that, this and that. But even then, look at your environment. If you're on a computer, right? Like let's say you're on a computer, which you probably are. If you have video games on your computer, it's probably pretty easy to play them. If you have video games on your phone, you're probably playing them. But if all of a sudden you have no video games on your computer or phone, you're in an environment without those, so you're probably not going to use it. Likewise, if you bring your phone to the bathroom all the time, you're likely to lust. But if you bring a book, you're less likely to. And that's a part of your environment, and no one likes to acknowledge that. So in this, young men love to underestimate how much their environment shapes them and how much power their environment actually holds over them. A good man can outpower his environment, but if we're aspiring to be a good man, clearly we're not good enough to take control of our environment. So if you're always around laziness, right? You're the average of the 5 people. If you're around 5 lazy people, you'll be the sixth. If you're around 5 millionaires, well, then you'll probably be the sixth, right? But if you're around noise like lust and temptation, you'll probably collapse, right? And change doesn't come from trying harder, it comes from changing the environment. People like to see millionaires and billionaires and people in relationships, and I keep on using millionaires, but that's like the cliche example of someone who's successful. We keep on seeing successful people and we think they're trying so hard, they must have this, insane human spirit and this insane will to just get up every morning and work. But no, they did work hard, of course. They put the grind in more than anyone else, obviously, but these habits have become a part of their life, and they found the right systems to work hard and to actually benefit from, right? Yes, there's the people like David Goggins who are always pushing themselves and always working harder, and there is success in that. But a lot of that is part of his life, and he had to build himself up, and of course he understands that. When he was super fat, he couldn't even run a mile. He couldn't even bike 3 miles or something like that. But then he lost a lot of weight, he worked hard, and running became easier for him. Yes, he still pushed himself to the point of failure, but it got a lot easier, allowing him to push himself. So you got to realize these people, yes, they're trying hard, probably a lot harder than us, but it's not like they're trying insanely hard. They're just doing the work. They're choosing to do the work when we don't. And that comes with changing your environment. And sure, you can do this in the wrong environment, but your environment will help you a lot. I mean, if you have a couple books spread around your room, you're probably going to start reading them. Even if you don't like books, you might pick one up once in a while and just glance at it. With me, I got sticky notes plastered all over the walls, and they're just stuff I've written down in the spur of the moment, like, Nolan, do this or that, or this is your goal, or achieve this. And it just builds me an environment where I'm keeping myself accountable. I mean, I have a light right here, and I turn the light on, whenever I come home from a workout, because it signals, okay, Nolan, you got to make a video now. It's all that's part of your environment, and all that encourages you to build these habits, Atomic Habits. I recommend reading that book. So in this, you got to realize relationship involves integration into your identity, which, well, it creates your identity. So a future woman will see instantly your environment and if it reflects a loyal man or a distracted one. And that's a big one. That's why as men, we want to see if women have a good relationship with their father, because that environment oftentimes dictates her relationship with other men. Now, it's possible to be a woman who has a poor relationship with her father, but can be a really, really good lady in the relationship. But more likely than not, that's not the case, right? Same times with men being afraid of women who have been mistreated in the past, because look at the environment, right? There's been an error, or there's been a bit of mistrust, or there's a sense of a bit of, fighting, or I don't know, fighting's not the word, but there's a bit of something going on. Needless to say, though, it's those environments that invite change. So maybe it's a change of fear, maybe it's a change of competition, maybe it's a change of wanting to work harder. Whatever it is, though, environments change who we are. Of course, though, in that example of, the whole she's been mistreated in the past, you got to realize women who've been hurt before, though it is difficult to gain their trust, once you do gain their trust in a beautiful relationship, that relationship will be stronger than anyone else on the planet, because she has taken time to heal and gain trust with you, which is a big deal, by the way. Men seem to forget that. I apologize for the little aside right there, but it is super important for me to say men do forget the whole point of, being with a woman who was never treated right. They give up so easily. But, if you're actually able to gain the trust of the woman, you will have a much stronger relationship than anyone else on the planet, because you overcame challenges together and she allowed to build trust and see what a good man is. And I know that because I myself as a man was with someone who was mistreated before, and it's essential to me as my core philosophy that I need to show her what a good man looks like. So I'm doing everything in my power to be in a good environment, become the man I want to be, achieve that identity, and be a good man, so I can show her this is what a good man looks like, and spend the time with her to take enough time, and time is very important here, to then show her what a good man is and to build that stronger relationship. But of course, I'm kind of getting off topic here. Anyways, you got to build the right environment. And if you're in the wrong environment, make some changes. Don't change everything at once, but just do one thing at a time. And then look at it this way. In life, you lead a legacy. You become your identity, and everything before you is a legacy. I have a legacy of a lot of depression and suicide. It doesn't matter how much I change, that legacy is still there. But I can choose whether I become the man who sits and does nothing after those pains, or I become the man who's stronger than anyone else on the planet because of those pains. Right? And most young men think of the short term. They think of pleasure, comfort, validation. But do you want a legacy of just sitting and watching porn all day and doing nothing with your life? No, that's not really a legacy. That's like every man ever. So you want to be a masculine man, a man who pushes for this real masculinity. And masculinity, by the way, means embracing who you are, embracing the right good values. Men like to take charge of this word masculinity and then they twist it in the wrong ways. But masculinity is really about being good. Right? It's not some sort of idea. It's real. It exists and it's good. Right? Masculine men think of years, not moments. They think of their beautiful families. They think of their future. He thinks of whatever's to exist and what he can achieve and how he can achieve that through his identity shift. And they live with purpose over impulse. Instead of suddenly doing something, he wants to do something, and through that desire to do something truly good, then he does it. Right? And you don't need to prepare for a relationship once you're in one. You gotta prepare far before. Right? You don't become a man who's deserving of compliments for going to the gym as soon as you lift up a weight. You become such a man once you've gone for years and years and years, and you've built a physique that is worthy of such things. Again, people think they're worthy of such things just by doing it. But you become worthy of things once you've achieved it. And in that I'm saying, people in life think they're worthy or deserving of things, even though they're not. The truth is, we don't deserve things. I don't deserve to achieve the things I want because I'm not putting in enough work to do such a thing. When I receive the reward, that's when I would have deserved it, because it'll be a telltale sign that I actually did enough work to achieve it. So like in a test, you're not worthy of like getting 100% on a test. You're not worthy of it. You don't deserve 100%. But if you study and study a lot and get that test back and it says 100%, well then you deserved it because you put the work in. Now obviously it's a bit more complicated than that, but you get the point. And in that you got to realize all that worthiness, actually deserving things, comes from a period of not deserving it, but working hard nonetheless to shift your identity. And men got to realize that. Doesn't matter what age, but you got to realize you got to work hard, even if you're not worthy of the things you want to achieve. Because if you work hard to become the identity, then you will. And you know it will be true, because all of a sudden it will hit you. All of a sudden you will receive the compliment. You will receive the reward. You will receive the person in your life. Just like that. People say you blink and all of a sudden life has gone by. And it's the truth. Because good things come by quick. But bad times last for a long time. So take all the bad times and let them be time to work. Of course, you need 5 main shifts. So you got to realize your identity, then you got to see the pain, you got to take up your responsibility, look at your environment, and leave a good legacy. And 25 years old, I mean, it's not the beginning of your life, but it's the result of who you are for the last 25 years. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You might be 11 years old, 13 years old watching this video. You might be my age. You might be turning 19 in a couple months. You might be super old. I don't mean to disrespect you for your age, but you might be far older than I am. And in that, you got to realize, it doesn't matter how late you are to the party. You showed up, and it's your turn. It's your turn to have fun. It's your turn to actually be involved. It's your turn to do things, right? If you showed up to a party late, would you leave because you're late? No. You'd show up and still be part of it anyways. So show up and participate and be as hard as working as a man you can be, right? Take my scramblings and my ramblings and my word salads and put them to use. Whatever I'm just yapping about right now, put it to use, right? I'm an idiot, but I'm smart enough to realize if I'm an idiot long enough and work hard enough, I might be a bit smarter. And maybe I'll say something that makes sense. But of course, if you start these shifts now, your 30-year-old self or the man a couple years from now will thank you. I mean, think about it this way. If you, look at me, I'm 18 years old. Right now, Nolan is saying, I wish I started this 2 years ago. Right? 16-year-old me started this 2 years ago. I'd be pretty far gone. I'd be doing pretty good if I started this 2 years ago. But at the same time, if I didn't start this for 2 years, I'd be 20 years old and I'd say, I wish Nolan at 18 started this. So thank yourself. You're doing yourself a favor, because you in the future is going to say, wow, I wish I did this. But would you rather not say, wow, I'm thankful I did this? And so, all the people you've helped will be thankful you did it. My name is Nolan T. Painter. Thank you so far. Well, I guess I'm tired. I gotta go to bed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.